moving ahead to our next session of the day on the topic of food safety at the core of equipment design. And to present on this interesting subject, I would like to call on stage with a big round of applause, Ms. Stella Mariem, Deputy Manager Food Safety from Bühler. A big round of applause to Stella. Stella, welcome to the stage, and all over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, what if I were to tell you that the engine of the car that you probably drove in today morning is made on a Bühler die casting equipment? Or ladies, the lipstick that you may have used in the morning today is made on a Bühler grinding and dispersing equipment. And since this is a food safety summit, probably the flour in the bread or biscuit that you may have had, or the breakfast cereal that you may have grabbed today morning, is probably made on a Bühler equipment. Well, to throw in some numbers, around 70% of the wheat produced worldwide is milled on Bühler equipment. Approximately 30% of the rice produced is milled in Bühler mills. We are also the leading solution providers for custom malting industries, serving about 75% of the malting industries worldwide. 60% of cocoa is roasted, and close to 70% of chocolate is refined and conched in Bühler equipments. That's how much Bühler touches our lives every day. We are a Swiss family-owned organization operating out of 140 countries with close to 13,000 employees and having 33 manufacturing sites serving food, feed, and mobility solutions. Okay, so yeah. Food safety is at the core of equipment design at Bühler. Each of us are pushed to innovate on behalf of our customers here. So, how relevant is equipment design to food safety? We know that physical, chemical, and biological hazards are the most talked about, and we have sessions on that. I'd like to today take you through some of these solutions that we offer in all of these three areas. Okay, talking about physical hazards. In the general manufacturing setup, you would have certainly come across non-conformities of a broken bolt or a broken sieve, a gasket getting into the product, and more often than not, the root cause is generally identified as these. And the preventive action that most probably people take is to focus or strengthen the maintenance program of the plant. However, I would like to draw your attention to hygienic design here. This is where hygienic design plays its role. And more often than not, this gets overlooked. Just to state some examples of hygienically designed equipments, these are just a few that we offer in our portfolio, like series, which is for breakfast cereals, refiners for chocolates, sieves, and microdosing systems. Moving on to chemical hazards. Earlier today, we heard Dr. Anna speaking about mycotoxins, and that is something that I'll also speak about as well. But firstly, about allergen management and connecting that to equipment design. We know that allergen management is done through a lot of practices like cleaning, changeover cleaning, allergen validations, but equipment design is also something which is equally important. Why? Because an equipment which is easy to clean and visually inspect will help you reduce the chances of a allergen cross-contamination. Migration from food contact materials is something that we will talk about in one of the further slides, but getting back to mycotoxin contamination. As Dr. Anna mentioned earlier, that a lot of the food and feed around the world gets contaminated from mycotoxins. And we offer certain solutions here in terms of the properties of the toxin that is present. The first is to do a size separation, which is a normal sieving solution, wherein you would separate the dust and the broken kernels, because these are the ones that are generally at the higher risk of contamination from mycotoxins. The second is to do a gravity separation in a combination with aspiration. Gravity separation is generally used when we know that mycotoxin contaminated kernels can get shriveled in size, and it's easier to separate. The last and the most important is to do an optical sorting. And today I would like to introduce to you LumoVision, which is a Sortex A series machine. There's an interesting story behind how LumoVision was conceptualized. Back in 2013, when there was outbreak of aflatoxin B1 in Europe, a lot of our customers were using fluorescence as a presumptive test for mycotoxins. One of our engineers who happened to be at the site happened to notice this, and that's when the concept of using fluorescence for sorting came into picture. What essentially the technology does is evaluates the kojic acid which is present in the kernels of maize. Kojic acid is again produced by Aspergillus mold, and then that is evaluated through hyperspectral cameras. How this is different from normal optical sorting is that a normal optical sorting machine would generally evaluate the red, green and blue spectrums of color, while Sortex A LumoVision would split the color zones into 200 wavelengths and use a hyperspectral camera to evaluate every single grain. This equipment gives about a throughput of close to 10 to 15 tons per hour. Moving on to biological hazards, the most common ones that we come across is certainly thermal kill steps like steam treatment, heat treatment. Non-thermal ones like irradiation are steps which are coming in, or technologies which are coming in certain sectors of the industry. And we also have started to offer a low energy electron beam technology, specifically for use in whole spices, nuts, and certain seeds. The working principle uses low energy emitting electron beam tubes, which are placed in a chamber, and a product is allowed to free fall in between. There's an electron cloud which is created along the tubes, which help in decontaminating the microbial load on the surface. This essentially leads to 90% of the contamination on the external surfaces of the seed or the nut to be reduced. We also offer a portfolio of thermal technologies like twin extruders, aeroglide roasters, and pellet mills for feeds. Okay, so this is something that we left off in one of the previous slides. Food contact materials and compliance to them is generally spoken in the FMCG industry in context to packaging materials. However, at Bühler, we focus on complying our equipments to global standards such as CFR 21 for US, EU 10-2011 and 1935-2004. These are standards which focus on materials which are used in equipments, especially on plastics, elastomers, other materials such as textiles, ceramics, and ensure that these are compliant and they don't migrate into food as such. I would quickly also like to talk about Eureka, which is a new generation rice mill. This is not a new equipment per se, but an array or a modular arrangement of our existing portfolio of rice equipments, which is designed in a modular way to help reduce the footprint, give better production, and has a faster installation from a customer standpoint. To summarize, we would like to collaborate with each of you. We have an application center at our head office in Bühler, which is in Bangalore, which is available for customer trials, trainings, and we also offer analytical services so that we can partner and collaborate. I'm also joined here with my colleagues from sales, Mr. J.P. Sharma, Mr. Nitin Sandhuja, and Mr. Saurabh Gupta. Please reach out to us with any of the queries that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So thank you so much, Stella, for that wonderful presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a quick open floor question answers. So please do raise your hand if you have a question for Stella. And just to tell you that Stella and the entire team of Bühler is here with us for the next today as well as tomorrow as well. So you are more than welcome to reach out to them and the team, and they'll be more than happy to help you out with their latest offerings. So do we have a question? Please do raise your hand. So we have a question. So kindly do introduce yourself and request you to keep the question brief. Please.
So myself, Devesh Tyagi from Group of Bimbo.
Hi.
And my question is about, as you talked about the equipment design for to ensure the food safety, what precautionary measures you take to prevent sieve damage, as you reflected on your screen, sieve damage, corrective action, the design, what action you take, design part, and second thing about the gaskets, rubber gaskets, how you prevent it going to the product and then the market.
So, sir, we design the equipment to be operated under certain conditions. There's the torque which is evaluated, but then at the end of the day, we cannot stop that from happening because it all depends on the conditions of use. What we do is that we analyze all of the hazards that can happen, and which with every Bühler equipment, you actually get a SANA document which evaluates all the possible hazards, and we also specify, say for example, if it's a gasket, we also specify at what interval it has to be changed. If it's a sieve, the changing frequency, the cleaning frequency is defined in those.
Thank you so much for the question. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call on stage Mr. Atul Joshi, Chief General Manager, Quality and Legal Compliances from Patanjali Foods, to kindly do the honors of felicitating Stella from Bühler. Atulji, thank you so much for doing the honors. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. That was Stella Mariem, Deputy Manager for Food Safety from Bühler, on her presentation, Food Safety at the Core of Equipment Design.